Hello and welcome to another Cuppa with Kaci. I know it's been a while. I took a month off just because life and without any more information on that, let's just get straight into it. So I went out today and I spent an exuberant amount of money, and I'm very excited to say that I got some new Posca pens, so that's what I'm going to be playing with today. I'm very excited. These are the ones I already had. Very saturated colours. Oh, I can't get the last one. 1 second. Okay, very sort of saturated colours and yeah, very bright, and you can't really do a whole lot with them because they're just so bright. And obviously I've got the black and the white, and I have a gold. I've got this glittery orange one, which is kind of fun. Yellow, red and green. And I recently watched Drawing with Waffles do a video using Posca pens, and it made me want to draw with Posca pens. So let's see what I bought. I got a new paint palette. That's not for this video. That's just in there. I got a really long receipt from all the lovely things I bought today. And we got a handful of colours. Pink, pinky red, orange, yellow, green, teal, blue, violet, indigo and magenta. So I got like a pastel rainbow. I was only going to get 1 or 2, and then I just saw all the colours and went a little bit crazy and bought all of them because I have no impulse control. So we're going to swatch these.
I was going to just skip over this bit and not show it, but I know when I'm watching art videos on YouTube, I enjoy watching the swatching process. So I thought I'd just shove it on and speed it up for you guys. So yay, time-lapse mode, doodly-doo. It's not a whole lot to it. I'm just shaking, prepping and scribbling with the pens. I had a lot of difficulty with the plastic nibbed ones, getting the ink actually to run, I guess. It was very frustrating, but that's another reason why I sped this all up, because it was a long time trying to swatch these because the ink was just not coming through on some of the pens, and I had to like reshape them and all that jazz. So I had fun regardless. Swatching is always good. I'm always frustrated with how not neat my swatching process is. I really like neat swatch sheets, so I tried my best to make this look neat, but it's really hard when you've got terrible handwriting. Anyway, that's all of the swatching, and I'll just list the colour names.
Coral pink, apricot, sunshine yellow, apple green, aqua green, glacier blue, lavender violet and pink, and they're all very pretty colours in my opinion. I didn't know, but a couple of them actually are the weird plastic nib that I didn't like on the other paint markers I did a video of recently. I think they're acrylograph markers or something. I didn't like the nib, so a little bit disappointed to see that I've got some that have that nib on them, but they're not as bad to use as the other ones were. I don't know if maybe the plastic's just a bit of high quality or something. They didn't bend or anything, and I don't know, I just kind of like my Posca pens to have a good bullet nib on them. That's just me. I like knowing that how the nib's gonna work instead of having this plastic thing that might catch on any tiny bit of bump on my paper and then split paint all over my art. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Now, my idea for today's video involved using these pens in some way to decorate the cover of my book, as I haven't done that yet and I want to. So we're going to sketch out some ideas. We might just use one page, we might do a whole spread, I don't know, but I want to then finish off by doing something on the front. So let's see what we can come up with.
I wasn't originally going to show the entire sketching process in this video, partially because the video is going to end up being quite long, but also because I had no idea what I wanted to draw. I have been struggling since the end of Inktober with a bit of an art block, probably because every day that month I had a prompt word and I was forced to draw from that, and now I'm kind of I've worn out my artistic muscles, which is partially why I took a month off. But I really struggled coming up with an idea for something to draw for the cover of my book, which is really frustrating because it means it's going to be the first thing I see every time I look at my art book. And, you know, I wanted it to be something good, so I was hoping that the colours and such from the pens would sort of inspire me. But it took a little bit of sketching and messing around for that to happen, so I tried not to stress myself. I just sort of had fun playing with the Posca pens themselves, playing with the colours, how they worked together, how they looked on the page, and stuff like that. So, as usually goes, when I'm sketching anything, I almost always draw myself first, just because I know how I look and it's easy to do. And yeah, it's an easy subject for me to just kind of scribble out and get loosen my wrist and, you know, all that jazz. So I did myself in my mask that I wear for work. Oh, I'm working now. You don't know that yet. I've got a job. Another reason why I haven't been arting. But we'll get into that a bit later. Yes, I just did myself with my mask, because we're all wearing masks now, and all that. Keeping clean, keeping healthy, keeping safe. And I thought, what better way to, what's the word? Encapture 2020 than to draw myself in a mask for the front of my book. It's not what I ended up going with, which is okay, because I didn't expect the first sketch I used to be the one that I ended up with anyway. I was just having fun. But I thought it would be quite funny if I did end up drawing myself or a character wearing a facial mask, because, you know, the year 2020 has been the year of masks, really. But no, I didn't end up using that. I just did some more sketches until I found something that sort of made me more interested in just drawing it in general, drawing it big and whatnot. I've put on some Minecraft videos to watch whilst I sketch, because I've been obsessively watching, like, Minecraft players on YouTube. The one I'm watching at the moment, I believe, is Mythical Sausage, because he is my favourite Minecraft YouTuber. I will link him below. He's just the best, and his sense of humour is my sense of humour, really. So, yeah, I enjoy watching his art. I was going to say his art. It kind of is art, but, you know, watching his videos. So, watching Minecraft and sketching, trying to come up with some ideas. Ended up doing a very similar post sketch to another art video that I've done. And I don't know, they just kind of, I feel like I'm gravitating back to the same poses and the same looking characters consistently, and it's very frustrating because I want to create new art and new images for you to see, and I'm just redrawing the same old stuff every time. It really bugs me, and that's something that I'm struggling with, which is the main reason I took a month off, because I've been having a lot of trouble drawing stuff that I feel is good enough to show on YouTube. Which is why I kept the sketching process in, because I find a lot of people, like young artists or just artists that, that don't think they're good enough to post things online, don't think they're good enough because they think that the complete image that YouTube artists show and people who draw on Instagram and post on Instagram and Pinterest and all that, the finished project, they see the finished product and don't think that those artists go through all the same troubles that they go through. Like, I struggle a lot when I'm drawing to come up with an idea. Sometimes you don't see that. Sometimes you just see the finished image and you go, wow, that's really good. I can never draw like that. But you don't see the hours and hours of time that I put into struggling to even come up with the idea or the layout or the color scheme and all this stuff. And you don't even see that really on YouTube because I cut a lot of it out because I don't think that that's interesting. I don't think you would enjoy watching me struggle for such a long time to come up with an idea. So that's why I kept this part of the video in. So you can see that, yes, I do struggle. I struggle a lot. And I watch YouTubers like Drawing with Waffles, and I love how she does her sketch spreads. And like she ends up with the whole page, the whole double spread covered, and it just looks so appealing. And I'm sure she struggles with the same issue that I have. But she's just so confident in the way that she portrays it that it doesn't look so much like she struggles. It looks like it's easy. Yeah, so that's the end of that part of the video. I did the sketching, and I did have some audio originally there, but my camera wasn't recording properly, so that's why I'm moving my hands around a lot like I'm talking to you. It's because there was supposed to be audio there, but it didn't work. Anyway, so us YouTube artists or artists that people idolize, and I'm not saying people idolize me, but you know what I mean. We all struggle. They all struggle. There is always struggle when there is art, and that is what makes art so worth it. Because you get through the struggle and you create something beautiful, and it's so much better for it. You know what I mean? With this piece, I didn't show the full sketch process, I don't think, of what I came up with. I showed bits and pieces of it. I don't actually know if I sketched this piece out fully before just kind of diving into it. But, yeah, I just created this random girl because that's what I draw best, random girls, I guess. And I used, you can see it on the side there, my Prismacolor white to sketch it onto the cover of my book, and then came in with the Posca pens. Now, initially I was just going to use the pens as they are to do the entire piece, but you know, looking at it back on the camera here, this particular color of pen is not nearly as dark on camera as it is in person, and it just looked like she was sunburnt, and that really was not what I was going for, especially with the cover of my book, because I knew I was going to have to be looking at it constantly. So I ended up getting a palette and pumping out a bunch of the paint, and then using my white and mixing them together to make a more diluted version of the colour, and then a paintbrush painted over the top of the skin. Also because it was the original pen is so dark, I didn't want to fill out the whole space because I didn't want her to look sunburnt, I guess is the best way to put it. So I get my palette out, and well, the new palette that I said earlier wasn't actually for this video, I ended up using, so yay me. I got that. I mixed the white and the pink, coral pink, together to make a more diluted skin tone, and I painted it over the top of the skin areas. Now, because this book is the Ohuhu sketch marker paper sketchbook. It's for markers, right? Anyway, the cover of it has this texture. So no matter how hard I tried, I could not get a solid colour. You can just sort of see black through because the way that the texture of the cover is, there is just always this texture showing through, which, because it's consistent over the whole piece, I don't mind so much. It's not 100% what I wanted. I think if I had gone in with acrylic paints and a paintbrush, I could have got a more solid cover over the whole piece and not had that texture, but because I'm using Posca pens, they're not quite as, I guess, runny as if I was using a paintbrush and painting it on, because that would be able to get it into the cracks and cover the top. And I could have also gotten the same result as if I had put down a base of white and then coloured over the top of that. That might have gotten rid of the texture, but I didn't want to do that because, one, I didn't want to waste my white Posca pen, two, I didn't want to get my acrylic white out, and three, I kind of liked the texture and I thought it would look better than it did. So it doesn't look that bad, but it could have been better and it wasn't. So it's not bad, but it's not as good as it could have been. I used a sort of technique that I've seen Kaci Golden use when she's filling a large space in with a small tipped marker or even a normal tip marker. She does sort of stripes, and then she colours and fills in like that smaller section that she's lined up, and then in the end you can't really tell too much that it's that streaky because she's only coloured small sections and it's blended more, and because she's done the lines, and it just sort of blends a lot easier in the whole. And I did that with this because there was so much surface area to cover with this Posca pen, and I didn't want to pump out too much of the ink, paint, whatever, and paint it on with my paintbrush, because the skin came out so textured when I did that, because I had to water it down so much for it to not just dry instantly on the palette, because it is summer. It is summer in Australia and it's hot, and I have to record with my door shut, and there is no air conditioning in this room when the door is shut. There's a fan, but that is it, so it gets very hot in here, and the paint just dries like that on the palette. So to get it to actually stay runny enough to paint, I had to add water, which then made it more runny, which then made the texture show up that much more on the cover. So I didn't want to be doing that with every colour, so I struggled through and used the pen and coloured it that way. And it doesn't look too bad in the end. It's a little bit streaky, but you know, it could have been worse. I'm still happy with it. As far as the colour choice went, I didn't actually, swatch. I mean, I did swatch the colours, but I didn't do like a colour test, which I would recommend doing with any art piece that you are doing. Do a small sketch and colour it in with a few different times. So do a few different small sketches and colour it in each of them differently, and see how it looks with different colours to try and pick the colour scheme that you want to go with. Don't do what I do and just wing it, because when you wing it, you end up second guessing yourself and possibly making a mess. Thankfully, this piece didn't turn out that badly. I would maybe have done her hair in red if I had thought about it before I'd done the fringe in pink. But that's just because I like red hair on characters. Red hair is one of my favourite things in character design. That and yellow eyes I have a thing for. Red hair and yellow eyes, usually my go-tos. So I deliberately avoided that with this image. But I wish I had done the hair red instead of pink, just because it would have had more contrast with the pale outfit and the skin tone. But I mean, I know, given that they're Posca pens, I could just go over the top of it with the red, but it's done now, and I'm happy with it, despite, you know, there being some things I am unhappy with in the entire image. But it's not as bad as it could have been, as well as not being as good as it could have been. And it just goes to show that next time I will have learned something from this piece, and I will do it better. Hopefully. You can only hope, I mean. Hopefully I learned something from this. Anyway, yes. So that's really all I have to say about the art piece itself. I'm just sort of colouring. I do go in with the dark purple and do the line art around the edge in dark purple as opposed to black because the background is black, and I wanted to do it in purple just to make it look nice. And I used this glittery orange Posca pen to redo the ties on the top, just because the orange that I have, the pastel orange that I picked, wasn't nearly as dark as I was hoping it would be, so there wasn't enough contrast between that and the yellow top. So I went over with the glittery orange, and it just sort of gave it that little bit of extra oomph that it needed. Anyway, so this is the line art. And I'm not going to talk about doing the line art because it's just line art and there's not a whole lot to it. I just added extra detail in where I thought it needed it. That's that. What I will talk about is the fact that I now have a job. And those of you who know me will know that, given the time of year, what that job is. I am an elf with Santa Claus. Yes, I am Santa's elf. I love it. It's so much fun. I have done this for 3 years now. This is my 3rd year. I didn't do it last year because I just had a baby and she was less than a month old, and I wasn't exactly going to go out to work when I had a less than 1 month baby. Less than 1 month old baby. I did a Robin Hood Men in Tights, then I completely spoonerized all my words. I apologize. Anyway, so I'm working with Santa. It's great fun. I do have to wear a mask, but it's not that bad. I have this cute green one that sort of is Christmassy-ish, and and I try and, keep it fun. But the best part about this job is we do pet sessions, which means people bring their dogs and cats and other animals in to sit with Santa for photographs. And oh my goodness, I have had so many puppy dog cuddles. It is the best, and I love it, and I want a new puppy. Just because I got to surprise some children with a puppy, right? So their parents brought this puppy in earlier than the photo. The kids showed up later thinking they were just getting photos with Santa, and I got to bring this puppy out and be like, oh, no, strike that. What happened is it was our pet session, right? So these kids come in thinking they're getting photos with Santa, and I have to be like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't have your photos taken because you don't have a pet with you, and this is our pet session. So what we can do is I've got this puppy that you guys can hold for the photos if you want to. And the kids are all like, oh, what, really? Can we? Mum, Dad, can we hold this puppy? And Mum and Dad are like, yeah, sure, we can hold the puppy. So I go out the back and I get this puppy. And I come back around whilst their aunt sneaks, because the aunt was holding the puppy, so the puppy wasn't, unattended. So she sneaks out and starts recording as I bring the puppy out. And I'm like, oh, this is the puppy we've got. It's this cute little black spoodle, so spaniel cross poodle. It's so cute, adorable little thing, right? So I'm holding this puppy, and I'm like, oh, you guys can hold this puppy for the photo. And this little girl is like, so what's the puppy's name? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What is the puppy's name? And the mum's like, well, if we name it, we have to keep it. And this little boy is like, so there's a boy and 2 girls, by the way. So the youngest girl is the one who asked what the puppy's name was. And the boy is like, wait, what? We can keep this puppy? And the mum was like, yeah, should we keep it? It's our puppy now. And the little boy starts crying, and the 2 girls start crying, and my other elf friends start crying, and the nan and the dad and the aunt are all crying, and I'm just sat there with this puppy and these kids crying, and I'm like, I know they're happy tears, but I'm like, what do I do? just take the puppy and smile, stop crying. Anyway, so they got all this on camera. They got some really good photos of these kids getting this puppy, and it was the best day ever. And that's my life right now. I'm taking photos of kids with Santa, and it's so nice to be able to give them some joy after the year that we've had, because my gosh, it has been a trying year. And on that note, I hope you are well, and I hope you're being safe and you're looking after yourself. And if you are struggling, you are getting the help that you need, because it is so important, especially around this time of year. If you can't see your family or your friends and you're stuck on your own and you're struggling, please seek help. Talk to someone, even if it's just on Facebook. Don't let it fester, because it's not good, and this year has been hard enough without losing people, okay? So please, just look after yourselves, guys. And that is my video. This is the completed illustration. I had a lot of fun doing this. The texture is a bit meh, I know, but it doesn't look too bad up close. Like, it's just on camera, you know, you can see a lot of black through the face. And yeah, maybe I'll do a second coat. I don't know. Anyway, I just jumped in with the white Posca pen, did a border around the edge to make it pop that bit more off the background, and then I sign it, and that is the whole thing. And I'm really happy with it, though. Now I'm looking at it, her hand is ginormous. Oh my gosh, how did I not see that before? Oh well, I'm just gonna put it down to perspective, okay? That's what I'm putting down to, is perspective. She's got giant hands, guys. Giant hands. Maybe I'll make that her character trait. She's got really big hands. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again next week. Yes, I'm doing these weekly again, so stay tuned, and I'll see you next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to go check me out on Patreon, and I will see you next time. Bye!